Man, I was hoping you guys wouldn't notice, but you've clearly seemed to have spotted this. I tried to hide the thing, but the comments have noticed what's going on here, and I've got a whole boatload pile of questions. So this is going to be a Q&A type of sort of update video. Nothing special, nothing crazy, but I do want to answer a few questions. And since I make videos, I figured I'd do it in a video form. So question number one, where has my Silverado been? It's been parked at my house. This is not my Silverado. It is a Duramax. Actually, this is a super rare gem of a Duramax because this has the 6-speed manual ZF transmission. That's a 1% build. Out of all of the trucks that were ever made of this body style with a Duramax, only 1% of them got that 6-speed ZF, and there's probably none of them left except for maybe this one and 6 other ones. And one of them is in my shop, which I'm actually kind of thrilled that I was able to get to work on a 6-speed Duramax. I've never seen one in my life before. So moving on, we got a fuel tank out of this one, but my Duramax is at home in my yard. I haven't really been driving it because well, let me show you. I acquired this little beater Chevy Blazer over here for a $1,000 car. I couldn't help it, so I bought a $1,000 car thinking I was gonna have a $1,000 ride for gas money, and I had to put $1,000 into it so far, but I've been driving this thing around just because it's easier to drive, and it takes up less parking spaces around here, and we're kind of crowded, so I try to be a little conservative with my parking spaces. So that's why I have not really been driving the Duramax, because I haven't had to move any trailers. I will soon, because the scrap metal trailer over here in the corner, that thing's starting to get a little full, so I do need to drag the Duramax out of hibernation so we can turn in all that scrap over there. And then over here, back to our Q&A session, what's going on with your wife unit's Tahoe? I'll show you. It's a 2015 Tahoe, and it broke in the most spectacular of ways. I've made 2 videos on the teardown and repair attempt so far. I will leave them down in this video's description, and I will leave them in order in the comment section. So if you'd like to see and get caught up on what's going on with this here Chevy Tahoe, just take a gander in the comments and you will see. But we have no powertrain. There's no motor in here. We got a transmission sitting on a ratchet strap, but the engine's out. She is bare bones, stripped, kind of empty. It's very sad, actually. So the reason we had to do that is because this truck developed a misfire while driving. It was a dead cylinder misfire. Cylinder number 8 just all the way shut down, and it was it did not run very well. And the reason that it misfired is fuel injector number 8, which was that one. Fuel injector number 8 had failed. These fuel injectors have an electronic solenoid inside of them, which is basically just the valve. When the ECM decides it wants fuel to be sprayed out of the injector, it'll send power and ground to the connector. It'll open that little valve. That little valve lets our high pressure fuel spray in through the nozzle, and that's how the engine receives its fuel from the camshaft operated high pressure fuel pump, okay? It's a direct injection engine. Well, the problem is while I was attempting to replace the fuel injectors, I bought the whole set. I got all 8, not just one. The problem is injector number 6, here's some of it. Injector number 6 got stuck inside of the cylinder head. Being a direct injection engine, these fuel injectors go all the way into the combustion chamber, and it sprays the fuel directly into the chamber for a very, very good complete burn, which makes massive amounts of horsepowers. And what had occurred is that injector got stuck. Let me find it real quick. It got stuck in the hole, which goes all the way through the head, right here, into the chamber. So because it got stuck and it broke off, I broke it off. I welded a nut to it and tried to spin it, but the corrosion in there was so heavy that it was lodged in. So I had to pull the cylinder head off and then jam that injector tip out from the combustion chamber side with a chisel and a hammer. So I've got the thing out, and the cylinder head is savable and reusable. So I proceeded with the repair of the vehicle. Now, what would have just been a, hey, let's throw a head on this, or let's pull the head off, fix it, throw injectors into it, that could have just been the job, but I kept looking and I found more things broken. So let me show you what I found, if I can find the thing that I found. These are all the parts and whatnots. I'm not gonna find the exact one, but I'll just use this one as an example. This is one of the push rods, okay? The push rods are operated off of the lifters. So that's a lifter down inside that little bucket there. Push rod sits inside of it, comes up through the cylinder head, and then that's gonna actuate on the rocker arm, which is what's gonna actuate the valves and open and close the valves. So the lifters, those run off of the lobes on the camshaft. As the camshaft rotates around, it opens and closes said lifters. Well, what had happened, here it is. What had happened is when I took that cylinder head off, I noticed that one of these push rods had some damage to it. You guys see that? Whoa, that was fast. Hang on. Whoa, too much there. Slow down there, hot rod. Yeah, what had happened was I noticed that bit of damage. I'm like, hey, that's not good. Then I did the roll it around check on the flat surface, and what I had noticed is this push rod was bent. Not a lot, but there's a slight bend in it, okay? So what's that mean? What that means is the cylinder deactivation system, that's right, this is a V8 engine and it can deactivate cylinders 1, 4, 6, and 7, and it can turn this V8 into a 4-cylinder. It's a fuel economy thing. The way that it does that is these little lifters right here. You see that hole inside of it? Well, these little lifters will receive oil through these little passages right here, okay? That oil will pump up a plunger inside of that lifter, and it'll make that lifter collapse and become shorter. When it collapses and becomes shorter, the valves can no longer open and close, and then the computer just turns off fuel to those cylinders, effectively turning it into a 4-cylinder. And the reason it closes the valves is to mitigate friction and parasitic pumping losses of moving and compressing all that air charge. So it just closes the valve, leaves the air in the piston. The air works as like an air spring, so to speak, and it helps that inert piston, temporarily inert piston, continue to function up and down without providing a parasitic loss to the crankshaft and the engine's output, okay? So because I had to pull the cylinder head off, I had to pull out the push rods. And when I pulled the push rods out, I found the one that was bent. And because I found the one that was bent, I knew that lifter was failing here on number 6. Now, if you ignore that, or if it fails catastrophically, what will occur is that this lifter will rotate inside of that bore right there. So it's supposed to line up, that little roller is supposed to line up with the lobe on the camshaft. That's a friction reduction technique right there. Some of these used to be solid back in the day, and here in modernity, we install these little needle bearing rollers on them. Well, what happens is this thing will rotate and turn. So now it's no longer rolling against the camshaft. It's sitting there spinning, doing whatever it wants, and the cam starts to work away at the little roller there, and the roller starts to work away at the cam. When that happens, it starts dumping all those metal shavings down into the bottom end of the engine, and then that metal proceeds to migrate through the oil system, and then it takes out the entire engine. So that has not occurred. So the reason that the engine is out of it is found the head, or I had to pull the head off because of the bad fuel injector, found the bent push rod. So I decided, since the push rod was bending and that the active fuel management system was already failing, it was in the process of failing, I would go ahead and just remove that system entirely, because that is the Achilles heel of like every single Chevrolet V8 since like 2007. And they keep redesigning it and it keeps refailing. So they keep redesigning it and it keeps refailing. And so now we're just going to remove all of that ridiculous stuff so my engine can actually last. Does that make sense? Good. So because of that, you have to change the camshaft. If you're going to delete it, the cam has to go away. We don't want to run the DOD camshaft on a DOD or AFM. DOD stands for cylinder deactivation, or I'm sorry, displacement on demand. AFM is active fuel management. Now you know the acronyms. They're kind of the same thing, but a little bit different. So anyway, because the system's going to get deleted, the camshaft has to be replaced. Now, the reason that the engine's out again is I had to pull the camshaft out. Now, normally on a Chevrolet platform, you've got the space out front to get the cams out. And I did. I pulled the radiator and cooling package out of it, and I had the space to get the cam out. But I couldn't get the timing chain off of it. Why not? Well, the oil pump was in the way. But I couldn't take the oil pump off because the wires going to the solenoid for the oil pump come up from the pan and are attached to the timing cover. Well, I couldn't get the wires off and I couldn't get the timing cover off because I had to disconnect the connector from the oil pump. But I couldn't get to the connector from the oil pump because it had an oil pan on it. So I took the motor out. I pulled at Dave's Auto Center, pulled the motor out because it was just way easier to do this job properly with the engine out of it. At the same time, with the engine out of it, it'll be a much easier time to actually do the repair work on this, and I can clean it up, maybe paint it if I feel so inclined. But the best part was I got a chance to inspect the internals, and what I found was incredible in here. This engine is remarkably clean for being a 200,000 mile engine. So I popped one of the caps off, I popped a rod cap off. I've looked at the bearings here and here. They are mint, fantastic bearings. So I'm not gonna rebuild this. I'm not gonna re-bearing it. I'm not even gonna pull the pistons out of it. I can actually see the bottoms of the oil control rings. If we look down hard enough, you won't be able to see, it's too dark in there. But there are some relief cuts in the skirts of these pistons, and it allows me to catch a glimpse of the oil control ring around those pistons. There is 0 carbon on those oil rings. So if there's no carbon on the oil rings, there's no carbon between the rings, there's no reason to remove this engine, or remove the rotating assembly from it rather, because the crosshatch on these cylinder walls is absolutely fantastic. Camera's not gonna pick it up, but it's got a really good crosshatch on it. I don't see any reason to go and put all that extra work into it. Yes, I realize it's 200,000 miles, but it looks mint. It has no piston slap. It's a quiet, good compression engine. So what we're going to do is slap a cam in there. We're gonna hot rod it a little bit. I did call Texas Speed yesterday, and I ordered a camshaft, and I ordered a set of LS7 lifters. I ordered the lifter buckets. I got a Melling oil pump on the way, new set of fuel injectors. I'll get a new high pressure pump while we're here because it's been there a while. And basically we're gonna put this thing back together and create the hot rod version of my wife unit's 2015 Chevrolet Tahoe. So that is where we're at. That's the update. I'm not rebuilding it, but I'm like halfway rebuilding it, if that makes any sense. So hopefully that answered the questions that I've been seeing in the comments about the trucks and the cars. So right now I'm driving a little beater thing. Lauren's got a rental, and her car is got an engine sitting over there waiting on parts to show up. So that's kind of where we're at. The truck's at home, but I'll probably pull it out this week to do that trailer run. So I think that should probably conclude the update at this time. So all that being said, let me know what you think about this update video. If you have any further questions, please feel free to register them in the comment section down below, and then I can make another update video for you guys. So all of that being said, as always, thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you being here. See you on the next one in a transmission.